Welcome everyone to my channel. My name is Brian if you're new around here, and for some reason I'm having an incredible day. And welcome in for those of you who are returning to this video, to this channel for my content. You truly are magnificent, and that's what you get for subscribing. But today I'm going to throw in a free random 5% extra damage. I don't know why I said random, but we're going to roll with it. I should probably be direct and honest. I've been drinking a little bit tonight, and we're going to do a reaction video, but I do reaction videos a little bit differently than probably everybody else. I do one of two things. I either kind of edit it down to the thoughts that I have when it comes to kind of a discussion back and forth to anything that's being said in the video, or if I do a full reaction, therefore no edits, I just let their video play and then we talk about it while I pause for discussion. Then I usually do 50% share of any of the revenue that the channel makes. Now, here in this video, most likely what I'm thinking about doing, obviously, I guess editor Brian will have to really kind of make that decision. We're going to kind of clip this down for you guys. I always want to encourage that you support the original creators, and that's why I do what I do. I either do an edit or I do a revenue share. But I still want to highlight, if you guys have not seen Lazy Peon's video, the last video I saw that he did about New World, he actually seemed even more positive, and that was from this spring. So here we are getting ready to step into Brimstone Sands, and he's made another video, and you guys have sent that to me and asked for my thoughts regarding what the Lazy Peon has stated. So that's what we're doing here today, and it's been a long day, so it's grab a beverage, and if you're going to be an adult beverage, be sure to drink responsibly. But we got a little bit of a video to get through. I hope you guys enjoy my thoughts as it relates to it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in.
New World, the game that in 2021 provided the MMO community with some of the most entertaining meme material in years. I played the crap out of this game at launch, but like 90% of the player base, didn't stick around past the first 2 months. New World's endgame back at launch just wasn't good, and if I was to explain why, this intro would drag on for 5 minutes. In April 2022, I returned to the game to see what improvements had been made, check out the latest content and meme on the game a little bit more. To my surprise though, after I made the New World KEKW video, I actually stuck around and I've been playing it somewhat consistently ever since. Back during my...
Alright, I want to talk about that aspect. If you've ever been on the fence, even with the memes, the fact that he is stuck around, that's non-sponsored stuck around, that's continued to play, especially from this spring, I think, again, New World has this magic, this thing that when, no matter what your view or whether your frustration or your gripe with it, is that I think especially when I hear, I don't know why I'm saying especially twice, but when I hear people talk about their grievances or their frustrations, there's always this sense of kind of mourning, some kind of loss, because they are stepping away from something that seems special. And that's what I hear from everyone. That's the tone that I get from everyone, outside of those who just kind of like to glam on for the lulz or trying to meme on the game, who haven't actually played it. And that's actually really telling. The hardest, I guess, anti-New Worlders that I speak to, the doomers, more or less than anything else, either never played the game or they touched it as a part of the hype train. And that's one of the things when people talk about, oh, the player base was lost, they lost this biggest percentage of player base. The reality is that I don't think they ever had them to begin with. I've stated that numerous times, and if we're going to use those same numbers, let's apply them evenly. You can go apply those to, oh my gosh, like look, every MMO out there, player bases come, player bases go. New World is always going to be. Even if it launched today in the state that it's in, like a year ago, it would have still had the same trajectory. Maybe it would have held on players just a little bit longer, but I don't think so.
Full review for New World, I said that I always expected it to be a game that will pull an ESO on us, in the sense that it was a disaster at launch, but over the years with many updates would improve to eventually be a solid MMO.
I mean, how many times and how many MMOs can we start to list that have this same kind of trajectory, and to the point? Like, I mean, even if you sit here and list a game, like, be honest with yourself, go back in time to when that game launched. and just be honest with yourself, and then see kind of where you fall into it, right? It's no MMO, no matter how big the budget or the team or the ambition, has yet to. Could it ever happen? And it's the fact that it could happen, that we could see the new next big MMO actually be solidified. I think that's something that does, in a way, make an MMO genre player. It seems like it's a part of our pedigree, right? As soon as we start talking about the potential next big MMO, in my mind, I think we curse it, because there's none have yet passed the idea of being able to launch with 5 years of content, let alone 1 year of content. And I think it's essentially, that is one aspect that all of these games will continue to face. And so what I've stated is that it's about how you invite players back. How do you invite players back into a cycle of hype, grind, and bitch? And if that's the first time you've ever heard me say those three things, I believe that MMOs specifically, but you could apply this to games as a service, exist on a 3-season cycle. A season of hype, a season of grind, and then a season of complaining your ass off because you're just bored of whatever you've been grinding on so hard, etc. And then that kicks back up as soon as the next big announcement comes around. Now, you can apply these 3 seasons into 2 different categories, kind of mini seasons, where you think of kind of an in-between patch content, and then bigger seasons in between more expansion style content. And if you go look at any kind of Destiny content creator, that also, I think, is just very painted onto the surface of that game, but maybe that's just my personal experience, but you can let me know one way or the other.
Now, almost 1 year since the initial launch, New World might have actually turned a corner. For the past 2 months, the game has seen significant growth in its player base and has fully stopped bleeding players from its launch issues, plus 24% in August and plus 15% so far in September, ever since the news broke about the game's first major expansion, which is right around the corner.
All right, so let's not call Brimstone Sands an expansion. I think essentially, hopefully we can all agree with that. Steam charts. Let's see exactly where we are. And what I find more interesting than concurrent, and you've seen me cover this in other games, let's see where we are. Number 22 right now on Steam. I like seeing these hours. The hours played going up and up and up. Now, obviously, there's going to be correlation with the more people that are playing, the more hours of that are going to be played. For example, though, you can see within Elden Ring, 20 million hours, obviously with less players, meaning they're playing obviously a lot longer. This could mean that a little bit smaller bursts of sessions being played. But if we kind of pull it up directly, you can see here 38%. So it's up 6,000. I think, what was it showing on his screen? Well, it's already passed. Somebody could rewind if they want to see it. But this average is only going to continue to go up because this is staying much, much higher. And what you'll see is lower numbers drop. If you guys have never seen any of my detailed analysis of the numbers themselves, the only thing that would concern me personally is if it drops below this as a floor. So if we ever see in the future, because numbers will step down as the hype, dies down and you kind of go into your, seasonal style model. Ultimately, we'll see kind of how that plays out. But if it ever starts to fall below this as a floor, that would be personally a red flag. Doesn't mean they could come back from that, of course. I believe that anybody who's willing to put the work in can achieve it. But in this regards, I would say that this is essentially the current floor. I believe the floor is being raised, and I think the Brimstone Sands update is going to be raised. But his wording along, I'll go ahead and like his video because I think that's important. If you guys like this video, that's also a great way of helping out it within the channel so far. But all that being said is that I wouldn't call it an expansion. It's weird because it's not being purchased. It is definitely expanding the game, but I guess you can let me know. I don't think of this as an expansion. I think of this as just a big update to the game, a big free update to the game. Anyway, stay tuned this week. I think we might get some exciting news.
This is a picture of the cons list at the end of my full review in November 2021. This is a picture of the same cons list, but with notes for everything they've fixed since. Just look at all of this stuff they've fixed. You can pause the video here to get a good look and have a read.
Actually, let's go ahead and do exactly just that. So, a lack of towns in the outpost, fill, copy, paste. Yes, they're definitely fixing that with Brimstone Sands. Lack of mob variety, fixing that. Unable to target heal outside of your 5-player group. You actually can. It's just hidden in the UI settings. Yeah, you have to have, and I actually just covered that in my Healer's Guide to different targeting options. You can't make groups larger than 5 players. We definitely want to see that. Like, that is something that we talk about on our game nights every single week. How great would it be? Because we end up running, 2 groups of 5 or 3 groups of 5, and we can go into doing PvP or PvE, or we end up just having a really good time. But yeah, having the ability to go into an alliance or a warband would be amazing. Antisocial endgame boss farming, healer unfriendly. Yes, that's been definitely solved. Annoying body blocking from mobs and players. That actually has been fixed. You cannot body block unless I think you're PvP flagged and somebody else is PvP flagged itself. So I would probably have him explore that, because you can run through mobs and things like that. Well, at least maybe players, maybe not mobs or something. But I don't mind if especially an enemy in the world, has a physicality. I actually really like that. So I'd love to know your thoughts there. No diminishing returns on getting mobs staggered is horrible. I do agree. Clunky combat and inconsistent dodge cancels. I feel like this has definitely gotten better. I'd be kind of curious to see more thoughts on that. Extremely poor design quest. Definitely some fixes that have been rolling out with the new player experience. Group content tied to the MSQ. Yeah, they got that fixed a while back. Economy ruined from countless bugs and dupe exploits. Well, not just the Fresh Start servers, but they have fixed the economy issues. More gold sinks than gold injectors. Deflationary economy, that has been fixed, absolutely. 100 trading posts listings just aren't enough. No NPCs to buy your junk settings baseline price. No. Like, I do not want to see NPCs to basically sell these items. Essentially, you can either break them down. Well, there is a value in obviously having a baseline price, but then that, I think, I love that it has a player-driven economy. I like that players kind of define that. There could be some better tools in that regard within how using the auction house system is functioning. So I don't know. Maybe we could explore that in another topic. Storage management. Yep. Low server cap. That is getting better. It is now up to 2,500. But yes, we need cross server. We need more zones. We need some things like that. Crafting system needs resources and values reworked. No flex rewards for maxing a skill to 100 to 200. I could see that. That'd be kind of curious. Devs butchered the fishing skill rewards. I think that's still the fact that they don't actually reward coin, but I feel like I get a lot out of fishing overall. Territory rewards are broken. Game engine won't support it. Yeah, they made it instance. The high watermark system. Yep, been done. High watermark system not tracked. They fixed that. No point in running dungeons until 600 watermark. That has been fixed up. Great way to gear. Player housing decoration score makes no sense. I don't really participate in it, so I can't speak to that in detail. Mob AI is very easy to manipulate, breaks certain parts of the game. I'm going to have to defer to you guys on that one. No easy way to switch between gear sets when it is a big part of the end game. Oh my gosh, yes. This is going to be a big win. Like, even though that you wouldn't necessarily classify that as content, loadouts are going to be a great way of opening up the game to way more content. Trading post leaks search functionality that has definitely been updated. Transmog only for cash shop, inconsistent cosmetics, etc. Yeah, I hope that we get to see some new news on that. You stop moving when opening. Yep, that has been fixed. The community is more toxic than most other MMOs. I think MMO communities, like, you're always going to have the bad apples no matter what. And so when it comes down to it, it's hard I couldn't say any one community is more or less toxic than any other community. And usually when people then step up and say, oh, this community is great, like, well, you probably just haven't run into the bad part of it. Generally speaking, being how we kind of run this community itself, we have yet to really run into it. But ultimately, sometimes things might pop up in the future. Automated bans from mass reports. It says not sure if fixed. Honestly, like, I haven't really heard of issues, but that's not to say that they aren't happening. I'm not going to sit here and say that's not happening. No customer support copy paste ticket responses. I would say that this is especially what we saw over the course of the last couple of days. That seems to be getting better, but we'll have to see. And then lots of perks and gems in the game, but they don't work. That has been fixed, and we're even getting more fixes there.
So it doesn't take long at all before you start to feel the effects of this new player experience. Okay.
Yeah, so it's feeling the effects of the new player experience, especially with like the voice acting and how they bring in, I guess the antagonist Isabella to start talking and whispering in your ear very early on. I think is a really nice touch. Cutscenes, I think are going to be a really nice touch, especially for those who are maybe just like, you know what, I just want to play it for the story. As my voice is failing, I just want to play it for the story. I just want to kind of get into the game. Whether you want to stick with it or you want to come back in a kind of way of kind of story chapters is going to be something to see if they kind of like take that on. Stepping into Brimstone Sands, it has that same kind of feel. And so that's actually kind of seeming like that they're really working through this kind of concept, especially with an MSQ. I don't know if that's going to have a good or bad impact because, if they end up making so much more of the game just MSQ gated, you're going to run the risk of, running down the line where you have to either do a boost or you have to like grind out for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours just to get to the new content. And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of what way they end up going about it, if that ends up being, the case. But obviously we don't have a completed MSQ as it ends at 25. It then will be picked up and remastered from 26 onward at some point in the future. We just don't have an ETA on that.
What's this? Great sword. Yes, please. That's what we want. Dude, look at it. It's so big, but it's clipping right through my shield. Goodbye, shield. You had a good run. How much damage does it do? Feels chonky. First ability, let's go with crosscut. Crosscut. So during the starting experience, you basically find one of each weapon just laying around on the floor from various weapon chests.
Okay, so yeah, what he's saying right here is that being that as you run around in the starting experience, it's going to feed you one of each weapon type so you can get to start playing with it and get a good feel for it. And I think this is absolutely a smart move. One of the things that people found frustrating is like, hey, I would like to get can I start playing where I'm with this weapon? It's like, okay, yeah, you have to go to the markets or you have to hope that it drops, etc. Now, but them having kind of the weapons kind of shown about that you could pick it up, grab it, and go from there, I think was an absolute right call.
And excitement to actually reach that city for the first time. Bloody.
Like on that note, though, the fact that you see it, that you're able to run up to it, that it exists, there's no loading screens, that it just is all a part of the game itself, is true. It ends up just really consuming you and absorbing you into the end of the game.
Hell, the entrance of this place looks so different. Before it was like a copy-paste wooden fort, but now it's an actual castle. In before, everyone moves their player housing to Monarch's Bluffs now because the buildings just look better. Quick look at the eastern exit of the city, and our first MSQ outside of Monarch's Bluff doesn't take us halfway across the map like it used to. Additionally, there's also a fast travel point fairly close to where I need to go. As you can see from the map, they've also added a ton of fast travel points all throughout the world, so you can no longer call New World a walking simulator. Additionally, yes, they've also confirmed that they will add mounts in the future at some point, so I know that's something that a lot of people have been requesting pretty much since launch.
When it comes down to the mounts conversation, I still hope that we see mounts add more than just a speed boost in a collection game to the players, right? Like I hope that we can see mounts that operate or offer new ways of like travel. I do say and would argue that we don't need flying mounts. I wouldn't mind a gliding aspect to the game, especially when you climb up to very tall parts of the game. It would be kind of fun to be able to glide down, but maybe that's just Guild Wars 2 in me talking in that regards.
Quest, once again, the NPC isn't halfway across the map like they used to be, and the quest flow so far has all made perfect sense. And that's level 12, absolutely blazing through the levels early on. The Great Sword's so fun to use that I'm just randomly killing mobs in the world because it's fun.
The Greatsword is a ton of fun to use, and what I would say is that it actually, like, in the stance that you get put in, especially when you use those abilities, I feel it looks much better when you hold it in that way, as opposed to like when it's just kind of like when you're running alongside. I was like, yeah, that feels like that'd get pretty fatiguing after a few yards or something like that.
That's how it should be. Got ourselves some green plate armor with some constitution, starting to look a little bit more like a knight. What's this? Rumble on the docks. Objective started. Is this a random event? I've just come into the area and a green quest's popped up. That's never happened before. There's actually a ship arriving on the horizon. They've made some significant improvements to the questing. I'm guessing this is like a multiplayer quest that anyone in the area just automatically picks up. A moving ship.
Interestingly enough, I haven't actually gotten to this quest myself, so I'm really excited to see how what happens here.
In New World before. It's the first time. which is crazy really, considering the theme of the game. So the boat's crashed into the dock, a few mobs have spawned, some other players are turning up, so it's like a wave defense style thing. Captain Fyodor himself. It's cool to just go into an area and have this random quest pop up. Really unexpected. Also helps break up the main quest quite a bit.
Yes.
I really hope to see more of those green quests pop up whilst I'm doing this MSQ. How cool does that look though? Great axe and great sword. Turncoat alligator. It's another different mob as well. There's so many different mobs added to the new player experience compared to what they used to be. It's nice that these supply caches and crates that you used to loot constantly for every quest, they've now become like an optional thing that you can choose to loot or ignore for a bit of extra coin or some crafting resources, as it should have always been. Wait, what the fuck's going on in chat? We need to make New World great again. Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? What are they talking about? Do you support Trump? I'm playing on the EU servers. What are they talking about? I can't wait.
Oh man, I love global chat, dude. I love global chat. I know there are probably people who don't like that, and you can always kind of just mute it, but man, I tell you, it makes my day. Sometimes they're talking about the dumbest stuff, and I just end up just cracking up, or I get involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, like, I love that aspect. The game feels so social in that, in having that, and the fact is, like, they're making jokes and memes, and people are just jumping in on it. Maybe some people are taking it seriously, but I don't know. I think it's a real perk. It really does remind me so much of my early days with Final Fantasy XI.
This is a quest-related POI in the world. Big, giant, fortified castle. This is the fortress of which guilds fight over to control the entire territory. Feels a little bit weird. Maybe they should update the fortresses too. Can we kill them?
I definitely agree, especially as we've seen them do what they've already done. I would venture to bet at this point, based off of what we've already seen, it's all just going to be a function of time. It's just going to be a function of time. The fact that they're willing to go back and pour time and money and energy into revamping the player experience, to revamping the zones, maybe putting in story with these zones themselves, and kind of letting those evolve and grow. It just has me excited for the potential that this game has. And when you step into the new zones, especially when you step into like even Ebonscale and even Reekwater, like there are some places that really you can see the experience and the teams, like, just kind of as they grow, and they kind of either get confidence or they just get more familiar and they have a clearer vision that things are starting to come together. And the fact they're going through and applying that into the early game as well, I think should be something to be celebrated.
Over here on the live servers, quick look at the progress of my character. As you can see, I've got every weapon to level 20 except
Oh man, he's got me beat. Actually, I've just been working on Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff, and so getting those to cap will finish off the Magic Tree. And I'm almost done with the two-handed weapons. I finished off one-handed weapons, so I'm trying to finish all the weapons as well. Maybe I'll be able to get that done before the Greatsword drops, but that might be happening pretty soon. So wish me luck on that one, guys.
And then I can craft a gypsum ore pretty much every single day, just for over.
So when he does that, it looks like he actually missed one of the bags because he had five of a 3, so essentially kind of having 2 left over in that regards. That actually has happened to me a couple times. All that being said is that it's actually like very easy. I wouldn't recommend getting into that daily mindset. I think that's a tendency to kind of burn us out much easier. But it's I kind of say, like, with the recent bumps, like if you do plan on logging in, there's just a kind of a handful of things if you want to focus in on that are going to really kind of boost you up. And that's how I went from 500 to 615, I think, is kind of where I'm falling at right now. And yeah, it's a very enjoyable process when you don't make it like, I got to get to 625 right away. Like, it just feels like it's a natural process that's happening with enough time and investment. But yeah, there's a couple of nice things that are pretty straightforward and easy that you can do when you do log in to take advantage of that. The Diamond Gypsum's one thing. If you do faction quest, you can end up getting and buying 2 orbs from them as well. So you end up within just a couple of, like, I would say probably within like 10 minutes, end up being able to have and focus up a couple of different slots.
So after returning to New World for the past few months, following the recent updates and checking out the PTR, do I think now is a good time to return? Yes, New World has solved a lot of the issues it had back at launch. The game is still absolutely zero pay to win, not even pay for convenience, the new expansion is completely free, and the devs have been grinding away for an entire year making constant improvements to the game. I feel like the MMO community should show AGS some support and give New World another shot.
Yeah.
As one, it's got one of the most fair business models in the MMO genre. Buy to play, free expansions, no convenience on the shop. 2, the devs didn't give up even after losing 98% of the player base at one point. And 3, even if you don't stick around long term, jumping on the new expansion hype with fresh start servers will most likely be fun for a while at the very least. So there it is, New World in 2022. Perhaps my prediction about it being the next ESO could actually turn out to be true. The game has a long way to go and the gameplay is still nowhere near as smooth and consistent as I'd like it to be, but you gotta respect progress. What do you think about New World? Are you gonna give the game another shot for the Brimstone Sands expansion and leveling revamp? What else would you like to see changed? Shout out to AFK Arena for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to click the link in the description below to download the game. Social media on screen. Thanks.
Let's wrap it there, because it's like, do I think it's a good time to return? I clearly do. I've been covering this game, prior to its going live, and then decided that, especially with just how much it was meaning to me, to spin up a dedicated channel just to New World. So clearly, bias, you can call it whatever you want, but it's really cool to see. And when it comes down, when I talk to MMO players. And if you were an MMO player, that's obviously at this point in the video, there's something there. There's a part of it, it's like, as the genre itself goes, if we don't, let's say New World's doing the things that you like, but you're not willing to step back and to give it a shot, I think that hurts the genre as a whole. I think it sends a message to especially others that it's like, well, if you don't get it right once and right at the start, we're just done with you. And then that in and of itself, I think, hurts future investment, future risk, and more. But I think the lesson here, I always we would always love to see a game launch without any issues, be perfect, and continue to grow. But those things are the exception rather than the rule. The exception rather than the rule. The rule ends up being is that games come out and then they have kind of that initial cycle, and then they have a dip, and then they make more content, and they have people come back, and then they leave. And the numbers reflect this. You go pick any of these games on Steam, and with rare exception, will you see that games continue to climb and climb and climb and climb. But that's just always kind of how I think about it. I play these games. I live in this genre, and this is just how I see it play out. So the narrative in my mind doesn't necessarily relate to what people are actually saying. So how they speak of it versus the reality of what MMOs end up doing and meaning, I think, are two completely different things. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. Thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to making some more content for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy that as well. But I'm going to wrap it up here and get some rest. Guys, enjoy your day. I hopefully see you next time. But until then, take care.